Did you know that over 7 million adults in the US are blind or visually impaired, and that access to adaptive culinary tools is one of the top barriers for independent living for them? I'm your host, Beverly Cornell, founder and fairy godmother of Brand Clarity at Wickedly Branded. And with over 25 years of experience, I've helped hundreds of purpose-driven entrepreneurs awaken their brand magic and boldly bring it to life so that they can magnify their impact in the world. And today, somebody is impacting their world. It's amazing. Today's guest is doing so much to help people who are blind go in the kitchen. Debra Erickson is the founder of The Blind Kitchen, a revolutionary business offering adaptive culinary tools and education for people with vision loss. She's an educator, innovator, and culinary powerhouse on a mission to help people cook safely, confidently, and independently, regardless of their vision. Debra, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Beverly. Thank you for having me. It's my pleasure.
I'm so excited to have this conversation. First, I love to cook, so we are going to have a fun conversation. There's no question. So talk about your journey. Like, how did you get here? What was that spark that happened that said the Blind Kitchen needs to exist?
There absolutely was a slow ember, not exactly a spark, but once the spark hit, then I could not do it anymore. So I've not always been blind. I have retinitis pigmentosa. Even though it started at 17, I lost the majority of my vision in my early 50s. And so I had taught adults and I knew I wanted to teach. So I went to the Oregon Commission for the Blind and got my skills, my cane skills, my braille skills, my adaptive devices. How do you get around in the world without being able to see? Wonderful staff there that were able to help me with that. And I was taking a class called meal prep, which is also important for any adult to be able to care for themselves and live independently. So I was taking this class and a light bulb went on in my head and I thought, I would like to teach this. I knew I wanted to teach adults. I'd done that before. And I thought I could teach this. And then the light bulb went off because I really didn't know how to cook. I raised 2 boys and the youngest is 6'5" now. So I did some right, but it was mostly reading the backs of cans and boxes. That's how I operated. I'm one of 12 children and 7 girls. So we didn't get a lot of mom one-on-one time in front of the stove. So I just really didn't know how to cook and was not a particularly good one. But I was enjoying my time in the kitchen with my instructor. So then I thought, how do you learn how to cook at this age? And I'm very skills-based as well. And eventually, after mulling it over for a couple of weeks, it became like, I need to go to cooking school to learn how to cook. And so people thought I was nuts. How are you going to do this? And I didn't have a clue how I was going to do it, but I do a lot of other things. How do I use my phone without being able to see it? How do I take a bus? How do I walk to the parking lot? It can be done, but I just do it differently than most people. So in culinary school, proved to be the same thing. I was the only blind student and I got through it and I graduated in June of 2019. So March of 2020 came and went. I was loving teaching adult Oregonians that were legally blind how to cook. And then COVID hit. Everybody was confused. What was safe? To be in a room with someone, not to be in a room. Teaching cooking remotely didn't seem particularly safe. If I'm not with you hand on hand, how can I keep you safe? So I basically was paused for about 1.5 years. And that is how the Blind Kitchen came to be. It's like I started to pool all the information I had done because culinary school is very demanding and very challenging. I didn't have time to come home after Eggs Week and organize everything and put it all together. I just whipped on to Soup and Sauces Week after that. So it was a gift for me to be able to organize it all. And that's how the Blind Kitchen came to be.
First of all, you're a badass.
Thank you.
I feel like you had your vision, didn't have your vision. You're like, not only do I want to learn how to cook at 50 something. And then you're like, okay, I want to go to culinary school. And then, you know what? I want to teach others in this really cool way of evolution for you. I'm sure you were scared and there was obstacles and all the things. Like, talk about how did you overcome some of that as a person who just wants to start a business, which is already hard, but as a person who has now this added layer of complexity of not being able to see.
Yeah, I'm telling you, culinary school was easier than running a business. With running a business, I would say the biggest challenge are computers, the internet. Not my being able to use a computer. I'm not great at it. There's a lot of people with vision loss that are a lot faster and more savvy than I am, but I can get around. And there are so many websites and forms that are inaccessible to me. And that, to me, that's frustrating because I want to be able to do, you may get on the website and I use just a keyboard to get around. I don't use a screen. I don't use a mouse. My computer talks to me and I use keyboard commands like Control C is copy, Control V is paste. I use thousands of those. And those are the same two I use to cut and paste as well. But sometimes I'll get on and it'll say button, button. I don't know if I'm adding some to my cart, taking it out, logging out. I have no information. And I really pride myself on my independence. I'd love to have an assistant, but that costs money. But I don't want people doing things for me if there is a way to do it myself. And it's very frustrating. There's nothing I can do at that point, except that there are services. There's a service called IRA, and it's a visual interpretation service. And what they do is for a small fee, and they actually have a human being can remote into my phone and look out my camera in real time if I'm at the airport or something like that. I also have the Meta Ray-Ban glasses so that they can actually look through my glasses. So now I can be hands-free. It's paired with my phone, but they can actually remote into my computer with my permission and help me fill out those forms because they can see what's on the screen. They're seeing what I'm not seeing, but they can help me overcome those hurdles. I'm lucky to live in an era where that technology exists. That would have been unheard of 20 years ago. And so I really try to be resourceful and access resources, but please take a moment. There are different businesses and things that can help you make your websites accessible for people with vision loss.
Yeah. One of the things that's just really good for SEO in general is to do alt tags on your images. Like just describe the images so the person who comes to your website can hear what is on the website. There's very little things you can do to at least make it in general accessible for people who can't see because they're listening to your computer describe what's on the page, right? So I think that's really powerful for business owners to understand. To make something accessible also is part of your marketing, which is great.
Agree. I'm definitely going to go and give my money to the person who's doing their best to make their website as accessible to me, a blind consumer. They're going to get my money every time.
I love that. Yeah. If you're like considering me in the process, then yeah, I'm going to consider you as an option for sure.
Exactly.
And if you're isolating me, why would I give you the time of day? It's like closing the door in your face. That's not okay. Do you have a story of how your business, The Blind Kitchen, has really helped somebody overcome some really deep challenges and help them find joy in the kitchen?
Yeah. So I would have to say the emails that really hit me closest in the heart are emails from, and I'm not going to be ageist or sexist, but I'm going to say it anyway. In my business, in my experience, it's generally older women who used to be the cooks for their family. They did Hanukkah, they did birthdays, they did Thanksgiving. And then because of age-related macular degeneration, glaucoma, diabetic retinopathy, now they don't know how to get back in the kitchen or didn't know how. It didn't seem possible. How can you possibly go into a kitchen where there's hot surfaces, hot food, sharp knives? Mom, you'll cut yourself. We'll take care of it. Mom, you toss a salad. And that's not cut up the stuff for a salad. You just get to toss it. So they lose a huge part of their identity, something that brought them. And you said you love to cook. And I'm guessing, I don't know this to be true, but it's part of your love language. That's how you express your love to people. And what if you couldn't do it anymore or thought you couldn't do it anymore? And certainly there are men. We have a grilling and barbecue collection because in my world, I'm from Indiana, all those kids and stuff like that. The women did the inside work, the men did the outside work, and that included grilling. So there are a lot of people in this world, they'll say, oh, grandpa's eyes aren't as good as they used to be, that don't identify as blind or visually impaired. And that's fine. I'm not here to put a label on it if you don't want it. But if you are having problems seeing, there are tools out there. And I'll give you an example one. It's a talking thermometer. So if you're outdoors, it's nighttime, you're grilling chicken, it needs to be cooked to 165. And if you're having a hard time seeing that thermometer and you got to get your eyes close to it, and if you could get that information through your ears from an arm's length away, why not do that? It's just not that expensive, and it's so much more hygienic and safe for everybody involved.
I'm a smoker, not like a smoker of cigarettes, but I smoke my meats. And I have one of those digital thermometers that just bings me when it's on my phone. There's some fancy ones out there, which is amazing, which makes it so much easier because you got to do it low and slow when you're doing the smoking. And I don't have the patience to sit there the whole time. I'm going to go do the other things and come back and check on it if I need to. It's so fascinating to me. I talk about this a little bit with one of my other clients. She's a deaf interpreter. And I had a boyfriend who in high school who his parents were deaf, but he was not. And when I went to their house one day, like when you ring the doorbell, lights go off in their house. And like all these things happen because they can't hear. So they use their eyes as their primary. And it sounds like it's almost reverse for you. You're using your ears as your primary. So the sounds of things can be your triggers.
And when I found there's not answers for everything out there. I can't devein a shrimp. There's no way. It just doesn't happen. I destroy it. But I can buy shrimp that's already deveined. Yes. There's a way generally. And now, especially with these visual interpretation services, I can't speak to deafness or being a wheelchair user or with different challenges, but I can speak to vision loss. And there's usually a way to make things happen, but we just have to do it differently, exactly what you were describing.
It's interesting because for me, I have a very minor situation with my left eye. I have keratoconus, which is the filling of the cornea. So my left eye is essentially the worst kind of astigmatism you can have. Like I just see like general shapes and color, but I don't see detail in any way, shape, or form on my left eye. So as this has deteriorated over time, they say I can have a cornea transplant. They can say there's other options when it completely fails and things like that. But it's been stabilized for a while, but it really for a couple of years was failing very quickly. And I was like, what if I lose my sight? Because I design and write for a living. What am I going to do if I can't see? And I never thought about the kitchen, but you're right. The matriarchs of the family are the cooks, and it is our love language, and it's community, it's family, it's so much.
No, it's history, it's sharing stories, it's culture, it's everything.
And I feel like I would really be devastated to not be in the kitchen. My mom always says, I have a really great blog post about this for my listeners. If you go to my blog, it's the secret ingredient is love. And I make things with love. Like I pick it from my garden and I pull it in and I cut it up, and you're serving up a plate of love in this particular thing. So I love this. I love this so much, Deborah. I have accommodations now for my vision. Like I have a really big monitor so I can see better. On my iPhone, there's accessibility where you can make the font really large and the color contrast more and things like that. So I'm already using some of the accessibility things just for my left eye issue. And I've often wondered what will happen if it completely fails, and what if it happens to the left eye or the right eye, or what if I get some other thing that happens to my right eye. Your vision is incredibly important. The world is made for people who see, not necessarily people who don't see.
1,000%. And they say that your brain uses about 70% of its available bandwidth, and it processes through vision. So when you lose your vision, or your brain isn't relying on it as much because you don't have that access, then that makes me rely on my other senses more. My hearing didn't get better. I'm not doing any better on hearing tests. My taste didn't get any better. I'm not doing any better on taste tests, but I rely on it a lot more. And you can definitely get through it. There's no doubt about it. But it is a very visual world out there. Vision is everything, even the way we talk. I'll see you later. Just eyeball this for a minute. I hear that in recipes all the time. Yeah. Even our language. I can only speak for myself, but I believe this is true of most people with vision loss. You can say, hi, it's nice to see you again. And I'm 100% fine with it. That is the way we speak in our society. But some people trip all over themselves. And I appreciate that they're sensitive and say, oh man, I wish I hadn't said that. I'm so sorry. You don't need to apologize. We say it too. Nice to see you, Debra.
I don't even think about those kinds of things. What is one thing that you wish people would know about what it's like to be blind that they maybe aren't as aware of? We talked a little bit about social media. How do you do your marketing? But just in general, what do you wish we're a little bit more aware of?
I think there's a lot of fear around even approaching the subject of blindness. That I'm going to sue you, or you're going to hurt my feelings somehow if you recognize that I carry a long white cane. There's probably a clue here, but people will go at all different kinds of angles to avoid the subject. And I think you can't avoid the elephant in the room. It is true. Yeah, I appreciate when people come up and have a conversation with me, because sometimes you can be the only person in a crowd. I don't know. I'm not going to interrupt your conversation, but I'd love to be invited in. And I think that's a thing that if you can just say, hey, you over there with the white cane, would you like to join us? And oh yeah, I was listening to you, and I have an idea on that too. But the one thing I would say is that if I am interacting with you, let's say I go to a party and you come up to me and you say, do you mind if I ask you about your blindness? Which is perfectly acceptable, because then I can give you permission, or I can say, no, I prefer not to. And I think the answer that I like the best that feels most comfortable for me is, yes, we can talk about my vision loss, but it's not the only thing I want to talk about.
Oh, I
Let's
love
talk
that.
about other
That's so
things
good.
too. Someone else told me that, and I thought that's perfect. Yeah.
So let's talk about other challenges and how you've overcome them. You mentioned in your application, finding reliable help has been your biggest challenge, which you are not alone. That is a thing. So how have you navigated that challenge in your business specifically?
It's all about putting feelers out there, knowing people who know people. I haven't done the automated thing. That feels like this business is a little too niche for that people would freak out if they found later that the owner was blind. I think there needs to be awareness of that. So that's how I've been able to do it. But people just have lives. They have children that, oh yeah, I can do that. I can come in 3 days a week and help you do your packaging and shipping. Because the way my business works, it's the blind kitchen, and people purchase the things online, or they get the free tips and stuff in the blogs, which is fine too. But if they decide there's a tool they'd like to try or that might help them solve a problem in their kitchen, they purchase it, and now it has to be packaged and shipped and mailed to them. And my talents are, I'm a teacher and I'm a cook. And that is where my talents are, but not wrapping packages, although I have to do it to have this business. And we all have to do things when we own a business that we really wish we could pay someone else. But sometimes that can work and sometimes not. And that has been difficult to find someone consistent, because it's not like I can tell you, Beverly, go pick the aerator off the top shelf. What's the aerator? Because I've named all of these tools to reflect their function. So it might be called something somewhere else, but I've been very vision focused with the blind kitchen, that everything's as blind friendly as possible. They have the names reflect their purpose.
That's good marketing too, by the way. You said that going to culinary school was way easier than being an entrepreneur. So what is one belief or mindset shift you think you've made in order to keep going as a business owner?
I've had to learn to rely on people and ask more than I want to, than I'm comfortable with. It's always been my way to try and just go forward and figure it out for myself. I can make this happen or whatever. And that's not very efficient when you're running a business and you don't already have the answer. So I think I've had to learn to be more dependent on other people to help me do quick problem solving. And that's not my comfort zone, but people don't resist. They're happy to help as a rule.
Over the years, I have been better at leading and delegating and letting go and all the things that you have to do to grow, like just period. You can't do it all. But it is hard.
You know, Beverly, it's funny you say that, because once I was asked, what did I learn growing up? And we always have adventures as children growing up, being adults, getting in relationships. And one thing that I was very clear on, I don't know the moment it happened, but I was pretty young, and I had seen women being forced to stay in relationships because they were dependent financially or whatever. And so into relationships that weren't good for themselves. And it still happens around me. So I made the decision, I'm always going to be independent. I'm going to be financially independent. I don't know what your paradigm is of the universe, but the universe said to me, okay, you want to be independent? Let's see you do it without vision. There was a lesson in this for me. I was doing it to an unhealthy degree where I was shutting people out or not listening when I should have been. They say every problem comes with a gift in its hands. And I think that was its gift for me was, okay, slow down. You don't have to do everything.
So I went into being an entrepreneur kicking and screaming. Like I was not intentional about my entrepreneurship. I married an active duty Army soldier and I had to move every 3 years. At the time it was 2011, 2012, and there wasn't really remote jobs. And I wasn't able to find a VP of marketing job just anywhere. You have to know people and network. And so I really created a job for myself. I could go anywhere. I could be in Italy and still help people is really what the goal is, and maybe to help a couple other military spouses have a job too, because it's really hard to follow your soldier and still keep her career. But here's the vulnerable part of it is I was an only child and I was always so doing myself and having control of my life. And I knew it was going to happen next. And I was 35 when I got married. So I was significantly older than the average person and certainly not codependent with anyone. And had my own idea of what things were like. And I had my own house, my own car, my own life. I hear you on this. Like, be careful of what you think you have or what you want to have. And boy, the universe, God, whatever will teach you some other lessons of what that looks like. And that's a great story for sure about like the gift and the curse at the same time.
Exactly.
So reflecting on your journey, it's been since, it sounds like just before COVID when all this kind of started, right? What's one thing about how you run your business now that's very different from when you started?
I am quicker to recognize when something isn't working because you get people out there that give you advice and they're the experts in this. I'm not an expert in marketing. I'm not an expert on website design. I'm not an expert on videography or graphic design. And I think when I first started, even though flags would go up, do I really need to spend that much money? Do I really need to spend that much time? Now I'm more quick to say, we tried it. I'm willing to do it once a quarter instead of once a month now. And let's see if the numbers change. So I feel like I'm taking more control, things where I felt like I had absolutely no knowledge. I know a little bit about marketing because I've engaged in it. And that's been a gift because I find that I'm pretty good at it.
Trusting your instincts, your gut. And then measuring, that's huge. Just measuring the result. You don't just throw it at the wall and say, okay, like actually measure, tweak, adjust. I always joke that we're mad scientists over here. Like testing, testing, like we're always trying to test to make sure it's working and then tweaking it till it's just the best it can be. Our clients don't have a lot of money to spend on marketing. Like they're small business entrepreneurs who are usually by themselves, solopreneurs, trying to do it all. And so every dollar matters. So if it's not working, you got to stop that. You can't just be throwing good money after bad. Like that's not okay. So that's good. I love that. It's incredible insight. And for our listeners who are maybe like feeling a little bit stuck about that, like about marketing and what that looks like for you, like you're not alone. So many people have tried things, didn't work, had to measure all the things. And if you're looking for more strategic help or more clarity or confidence and momentum, I really want to invite you to set up a free clarity call with me. You just have to go to wickedlybranded.com/call. And we'll uncover what's working, what's getting in the way, and how to move forward. Maybe just that one next step that can help you push forward to that next vision you have for yourself. You just don't have to do it alone. So I just want to invite you personally to give me a call and let's chat. This season's all about confidence, right? So as a business owner, you have to have confidence and courage and be visible and all the things. What do you think that confidence looks like for a business owner? And can you share a moment when you realized you were truly showing up with it?
Confidence is a funny thing. It's a good thing to not have complete confidence because then you're challenged and you have excitement and enthusiasm about it. Too much confidence can be boring. Every time I do something new, my confidence is always going to be low. But then the more I do it, the more I fail, the more I problem solve, the better I'm going to get at it and the more confident I'm going to feel when I end up facing that challenge again. But I'm not sure a lack of confidence is always a horrible thing. I think it can just mean you're showing up to a challenge and it makes you be creative and problem solve and challenge yourself to still be able to stand tall and look like you're confident, even if you're really not. I think confidence comes with practice and with repetition, and it's a good thing.
Yeah, I say confidence is built. It's not something you just have. You have to do it over and over again. Step out of your zone of comfort, try things, fail, make mistakes, learn. If that's the one thing I teach my son, he's 10, is just keep making mistakes because that's what's going to help you feel confident in your intuition again. Like going back to that intuition, you'll just know because you trust yourself to make those kinds of decisions and leaps. Is such an interesting thing. I talk about unicorn-like confidence because my whole brand is pink and purple and blue. And you can't see this, but behind me, I have a fluorescent light that says Wickedly Branded with shining pink and purple behind me. And we talk about unicorn-like confidence because unicorns, they don't brag or have ego. They just know how special they are and they shine in their specialness. They glow in that specialness. And I think just being you, you know, that's what makes you special, and glowing and being visible in that is where confidence can really flourish. So I know you're passionate about podcasts and video snippets as a marketing strategy. So what has been the most effective social media or marketing thing that's worked for you in the Blind Kitchen?
Boy, that has just been such a learning experience because we started out with these long video tutorials, which are necessary for the tools. If you're thinking about buying a tool, you want to know what the tool is, why it's blind friendly, and how to use and care for it. And that can be long and repetitive. I had no idea what I was getting into. But what we have found is that people have short attention spans. If I'm just trying to get people's information in general, they're going to whip by the videos that short, interesting blurbs are part of it. And I love, like you love your unicorn and sparkles and the colors of your brand, I love our cupcakes that jump in and out of the Braille cells and form the Braille letters TBK. But that gets old for people after a while. So what we found is that when this video gets published, and that we'll play your introduction, and then we'll pull out just a snippet of something that we thought was interesting and unique to my and your conversation. Because I often answer a lot of the same questions, but there's always something new in any podcast that you do. And so then we'll just play like 30 seconds of that, and then close with your closing. And people really respond to that because it's new content, it's new information. It means they're not going to see the same old thing over again. So that's something that we've learned on the way.
Yeah. You got to try it, test it. You got to see what works, what doesn't work. And I think when you're trying to build authority or just knowledge in general about what you do, having the podcast snippets are so incredibly powerful. That's how you talk to a real person. That's not something forced and faked and like some polished speech. You talk at people. This is a real genuine conversation with genuine people having a genuine connection. So that seems so much more authentic to me. And I love that. That's like my favorite thing for sure.
And people respond to it.
Yeah.
Respond to it. Yeah.
What do you think is the hardest part about marketing?
So with the Blind Kitchen, I've got a niche business. It's people with vision loss, and there's a finite number, and I've done pretty darn good, I think, my team at getting known in that population. But there's a lot of people out there that don't identify as blind or visually impaired. And that might be somebody like your grandpa, or grandma can't see as well. She used to do what nobody would dare call her visually impaired or blind. She wears glasses and stuff like that. But they are people that could benefit from what the Blind Kitchen has to offer just to make their lives easier. So that has been challenging to reach those people that I truly know could benefit from the tools. And it's not just the tools, it's the strategies in the Blind Kitchen. There's a lot of things that can make your life easier than it's just knowledge. And that's available on the website in the Blind Kitchen library. So that's been part of the reason that I'm so appreciative that you invited me onto your podcast, because most of your audience, I'm guessing, does not identify as blind or visually impaired. Perhaps some do. You have women entrepreneurs. That is your main focus. But almost everybody knows somebody who might be struggling a little bit with trying to see in the kitchen. And that has been a big challenge, is how to reach that other group that don't have the label that make it easy to tag and identify.
It's interesting because my mom just turned 72. She'll be 73 this November. And I saw that she was struggling opening cans, and she loves to cook. That's where I got my love of cooking, is from her. And I saw her kind of struggling opening cans and some other things. So I gave her like a whole cooking kit for like accessibility, a can opener that's automatic and some other things. And then she looked at me because, "What are you trying to say, I'm old?" "No, Mom, I'm really trying to help you. Like, I just want it to be easier for you." But she like got offended, actually. I was like, "I know your independence is so important, but if there's things that make it easier, why would you not use it something that makes it easier for you? I don't understand."
You hit the nail on the head. People don't want to be identified as getting older.
Yeah.
And vision loss can be part of getting older.
And then my father-in-law has some diabetes and some retina issues as well, some bleeding on the eyes and things like that. And he used to be the primary cook for the family of 7 kids. So he was always feeding everybody. And I know he struggled a little bit, but his vision's a little bit better now. But yeah, we all know somebody who's struggling just a little bit, but you want the gift to be taken not as an insult in some way, shape, or form, not with, "Kate, you're old." That was not my intention. "Mom, I just know you love to cook, and if it makes it easier for you, please use these tools."
Right.
But I think as we get a little bit older, we want our independence and don't want anyone to tell us that we're old. She just had hip surgery too, and she was a bit of a hippie. She was born in 1952, so when she became of age at 18, she was like the hippie age. So I gave her like a whole hippie kit where I had like a boho bag that was like from the 70s, and I put like a device to help her get out of her car and a thing to help her put her socks on. And she's like, "You and these old people gifts." And I was like, I had hip surgery a while ago too. You're going to need these things. But I was 40 when I had hip surgery. So don't tell me that was from you being old. But you're like, okay, I know how hard it is. For those of you that are listening that have some limited impairment of some sort, whether it's arthritis or vision or hearing, My husband could use a hearing aid.
I heard that.
Yeah, he's been in the military, so he's been around a lot of explosive devices and loud sounds and the gun range, things like that. He's 51, but I still think he needs help a little bit with that. So I feel like that is a very hard thing. And I think as a person who is aging, like I am in that process too, I hope I'm a little bit more graceful about that and I will accept the tools and the accessibility. I will take it. I'll take it. Before we go any further, if you've been enjoying this conversation with Debra, if this conversation has inspired you in some way, I would love for you to hit the subscribe button, the follow button, leave us a review, let us know exactly what you're loving about it and what is helping you maybe see differently, no pun intended, in your work and in your business. So I do have a magic hat and it is purple and it is sequiny and it has lots of questions, Debra. I have heart-shaped, star-shaped, they're all laminated and I have probably 30 questions. Do you remember Michael Jackson's hat?
I do. Before?
Okay, but it's purple and has sequins on it. So that's where the questions are. So I'm going to pick 3 or 4 questions out of it and they're more rapid fire questions and a little bit more fun. Okay?
Okay.
Ooh, this is such a good one for you. I'm so excited. What are the 3 most important ingredients for your recipe for success?
Butter. No, just kidding. Just kidding.
Oh, yeah. Girl, butter all day long.
I would say creativity, tenacity, and a belief in yourself.
Yeah. Okay. So what's the hardest no you've ever had to say in business and why?
I had a woman that was marketing for me and we were just going in circles. We just never came out with a product. It was just a conversation. And I had to let her go. And she was tearful. And I believe in your mission. I wanted to help the business, but it was very difficult for me. But I wasn't getting anything for my money at all, except her enthusiasm and her admiration for the mission. But it was very hard to let someone go. But I didn't need a fan club. I needed somebody to market my business.
Yeah, like it's so great that you blame me, but I need you actually to other people to love my business too.
That was not easy.
Yeah, because it's human.
Exactly.
What fear have you had to overcome to grow your business?
My videographer says I hate social media, and it's not true. I don't hate social media, but when I was of a certain age, when I was raised, you never bragged about yourself. You didn't tell people what you were doing. You didn't say, I got an A on this report card or I'm having this for dinner. So for me to put myself out there as though anybody really cares what I'm doing, he says people do care. But that's been really hard for me to break through that paradigm that I've had to evolve to become more like the millennials.
I'm of the same philosophy that the work should speak for itself. You shouldn't have to go and talk about it. And I would say 99.9% of my clients feel the exact same way. I don't want to step in front of the camera. I don't want to have to talk about what I do. I don't want to do all this stuff. And I will tell you this, super vulnerable, real moment. I didn't want to do it either. And I remember talking to my assistant. She's amazing, Michelle. She does all of our marketing for Wickedly Branded. And she was like, can you do this video? And I was like, Michelle, I cannot do that video. That is not me. I'm sorry. And every time I do a video, I was like, oh, here's a video. Like I begrudgingly gave her the video. And that was probably like 1.5 to 2 years ago. And now she's like, look at you. You're like a video rock star. And I was like, yeah, I guess practice does help a little bit. You get over it. And then you realize that people do find it beneficial. And I just keep a serving heart in my perspective every time I share. So that's where I try to come from, is a serving place as opposed to selling or how do I help people? And that I think has changed my perspective on it. But yeah, I'm the same way. Like I just want my work to speak for itself and I have to do all the other stuff. I totally agree with you. What's been your biggest aha moment as an entrepreneur?
I went into a conversation of people with vision loss who like to cook. And I was in the room just as Debra. I didn't identify myself as anything else. And someone said, are you Debra Erickson of the Blind Kitchen? And it was like, wow, I've made it. People now are associating the brand with a name. And that was really something for me. I did not expect to be recognized. I didn't say Debra Erickson. I identified as Debra. And it was like, wow, the name's getting out there. And that felt really like my marketing was working. I was reaching the people I wanted to reach, people that like to cook, that had vision loss. It makes you want to keep going. I'll tell you, It makes you want to keep going.
I say this on the podcast often to my listeners. If there's somebody who's inspired you or somebody who you really respect or admire, tell them, because they may be needing a little bit of affirmation. They may be about to give up. They may be not knowing that anything's working. And so many of the people who follow us are lurkers, right? They just watch your content, never engage, never ask questions, never anything. But is it really helping you? And if it is, please let them know. That's such a gift that you're giving them, including for the podcast, including for the work we do at Wickedly Branded. If we're actually helping you, gosh, let us know, because then we know the work that we're doing matters. So if you could do one thing today, go tell somebody that has inspired you or given you that piece of information that has helped you, go tell them, because that may be exactly what they need to continue their work or to improve or whatever that looks like for them. So important. I had a situation very similar recently where I was on a guest on another podcast, and somebody added me on LinkedIn and said, hey, the brilliant Beverly Cornell helped me with my confidence, and I did this thing and I showed up, and I almost got tears in my eyes, because it's like somebody did the thing I asked them to do. It made a difference. Somebody pushed themselves outside their comfort zone and they got results. And that's what it's all about right there. That matters. That really matters. What's something in your business that brings you pure joy?
Oh, it's the emails I get where people say, I cooked this meal for this special person and they loved it and it made me feel so good. Those emails where I know that the work I've done has touched their lives enough that they can touch someone else's life, and it brings them such joy. That's by far just such a wonderful email or conversation to have.
Agreed. Okay, so you survived the magic hat round. I have a magic wand. It is like a light purple. It looks like a snowflake on top. It's very reminiscent of the Let It Go Frozen wand, like from the movie Frozen. But it's purple. It has sparkles and glitter on it. And if you push it, it does make noise, but it lasts a very long time. So we don't want that. But the magic wand helps us move forward and backward in time. So I'm going to wave the wand and we're going to go backwards to a very young, maybe high school graduate, Debra. And I would love for you to give her a piece of advice that you wish you had before that would have served you better in your life if you'd known it or followed it.
Yeah, I would advise her to believe in herself more. She definitely felt like she didn't have much power in the world and was definitely at the whim of the winds. But looking back, she was actually very strong and could have changed the world at that point in time. But as women, as humans, it takes us a while to figure that out. And that's what I would open her eyes to her own power a lot earlier.
The irony of opening her eyes to her own power is interesting too. So what would she say about you if she's looking ahead and sees herself, the 18-year-old now? What do you think she would say to you?
I think she'd say, good job. I'm proud of you. You're making a difference in the world. I think that's what she would say.
That's beautiful. Okay, so I'm going to wave the wand again, and we're going to go forward in time, many decades to the end of your life. And I want you to think about the person who's giving your eulogy and think about, what do you think that they would say would be your most significant legacy or impact on the world?
I'm here as an entrepreneur, but I would hope it would be she was a good wife and a good mother. Those two roles are very important to me. And it only took me 2 marriages to get to the wife part. But yeah, that she was a good wife and mother and sister. But I think as an entrepreneur, the legacy would be that if it is 20 years later or 40 years or whatever, that the tools and information were so basic, they stood the test of time. I'm not selling technology because that's going to change tomorrow and the next day and the next day. But things like long wooden spoons, things like cut gloves that you can put on your hand holding the food and you're not going to cut your skin. Those things are not high tech, but they are things that people will always need as long as they have skin that can be burned or cut. About 90% of my tools allow people with vision loss to be able to use them, and they're not going to be modified over time. They're perfect the way they are.
Yeah, so good. Okay, so I'm going to wave my wand and we're going to come back to the present day. Thank you for time traveling with me. So for our listeners, those small business owners, those women who, even those aspiring entrepreneurs, what is one tip you would give to them that they could try today or this week that would help them maybe build more confidence in how they show up and run their business?
I think one of the biggest things that happened for me to enable me to get this business going is I took a business from the Small Business Development Center that the Small Business Administration gave classes. And then I was surrounded by people. Of course, this was during COVID, but I was surrounded by people of similar interests with similar challenges. And we worked as a support group for each other to help each other build their businesses. Surround yourself with people who are supportive of what you're doing, who are interested in what you're doing, and even better, that they're trying to do it themselves. And that will be a constant fuel source for you to keep you going forward when things do get rough, because they will get rough. None of us get out of here without scars. It's just the way, whether we're entrepreneurs, whether we're mothers, we're wives, whatever, there are going to be issues. And this is one of the things your podcast serves. When I listen to you, I listen to other female entrepreneurs who have had similar challenges and successes. And that makes me, as a woman entrepreneur, that I too can have similar successes. And maybe that'll give me an idea. Well, maybe I can tweak this strategy. I wasn't doing exactly right. Maybe if I try it this way. And I think that's constant fuel for the soul, and it keeps you moving forward. And I think I was very wise when you said you're just not hearing any feedback on what you're doing. You're making this video. You're doing this podcast. Nobody comments on it. Nobody verbalizes to you. If you're surrounding yourself with humans and not necessarily the video, that feedback is very helpful to keep you moving forward.
And I do think like everyone that I talk to, everyone that I work with are really purpose-driven, heart-centered people. And they want to make an impact in the world. They're making impacts in the world like you are with the Blind Kitchen, with helping empower people. And when you so badly want to help the world and no one's engaging, it's like, what is the deal? Obviously, purchasing your items is amazing. We want that too. But throw us a bone. Let us know. We're helping you out. That is just, I think, a kindness that we could do more of in the world as people consume content. Just letting content creators know that their stuff matters. There's some really big content creators that have millions of followers that I still send them a note saying, hey, I just want you to know I really enjoy your content. I look forward to seeing it in my feed. Just a genuine appreciation for them showing up every day. And they probably don't even need it, Debra, because they have millions of followers. But I feel like if I find value, that I need to let them know, hey, this is great. I really appreciate it.
I agree. I agree.
So to wrap up here, I want to ask you, share with the listeners where they can learn more about you, more about the Blind Kitchen, what you're up to, where they can buy something. Maybe they want those really fancy gloves.
Sure. The website, we're a web-based business, and it's theblindkitchen.com. I also do public speaking and workshops upon request. I can tailor a curriculum to your agency or organization or your needs. We're also on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, and I'm missing one. YouTube. Hello. Yeah. And you can write to me at info@theblindkitchen.com. I monitor that mailbox and answer all of those emails there. So please do feel free to reach out. And as Beverly said, please do tell me what's working for you. Tell me what's not working for you. That helps me to shape the business to be a better entity.
Yeah, it's such good, incredible feedback for us to learn and tweak and grow. Debra, I have thoroughly enjoyed this chat. I've learned so much, just some awareness stuff that I hadn't thought about from the blind community perspective, but also just you're an amazing person and entrepreneur. So thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and your journey and your magic with us. I know our listeners are going to walk away feeling totally inspired and ready to go maybe take some action. I'm so grateful for your time, for the impact that you are specifically making on the world.
Oh, thank you, Beverly, for having me. This has really been a joy. I've enjoyed our conversation immensely.
I just want to add to my listeners, I really hope that today's episode inspired you, lit a little fire in you, gave you some great ideas, but most of all, inspired you to not feel so alone. There's so many challenges as entrepreneurs that we face, that there's always a way to overcome them. Because here's the thing, your message matters, your work matters. The world needs to hear what you have to say. Marketing isn't just about visibility. It's not just about the videos. It's about impact. It's about connecting with the right people in a way that feels completely true to you. So keep showing up, keep sharing your brilliance, and keep making magic in the world. And hey, if you ever feel stuck, know that you don't have to do this alone. We're here to help you turn that spark into a wildfire. So until next time, keep sparking and igniting.